As the world passes through the second decade of the 21st century, we find ourselves in the midst of a global financial crisis that threatens the way of life of virtually the entire civilized world. From the United States to Europe, Russia, Eastern Europe, and Japan, to South America, India, and the Middle East, and yes, even to China itself, most of the world's 7 billion people face a global economic crisis, perhaps even a global depression, that appears to have no rational ending in sight. I say rational because the current course being pursued by the world central banks shows no real potential for solving the crisis of debt and economic contraction that every major developed economy faces today. The policy of quantitative easing that every major economy, including China, is following, though temporarily helpful to some segments of the economy like the banks, stock markets, and corporate coffers, ultimately only adds more debt to an already debt-choked international financial system that sees productivity falling and is based upon a currency, the U.S. dollar, which itself is rapidly fading in value, if not validity. Consequently, the world finds itself at a crossroads. The current but broken international financial system, founded upon the vitality of the U.S. economy and a gold-backed U.S. dollar, and held together by the imposition and enforcement of a set of rules by U.S. economic and military dominance, no longer works as it once did. The last pretensions of a gold-backed dollar disappeared in 1971, and the U.S. national debt and deficit spending have both been on a constant increase since then and are well beyond the point of anyone believing that such debts will ever be paid back. The global financial crisis at hand is perhaps the final symptom of this dysfunctional system before it crashes altogether. This now inadequate system, like an aging man, is full of frailties and weaknesses and is but a shadow of its former self, with a sclerotic capital system that is unsustainable and clogged with so much aggregation of debt that it can no longer be supported by falling productivity or the spent energies of 50 years of debt-fueled consumption. One of the problems the world faces lies not just in where to go from here, but how to get there. At the same time, as the worst financial crisis the world has seen since the Great Depression continues to unfold, the 2008 credit crisis is neither solved nor cured, but is only being managed with massive amounts of new credit, military relationships and trade relations are being formed and reimagined at this writing, which, to any careful student of history, ought to sound alarm bells loud, clear, and urgent. The result of the last global financial crisis, the Great Depression, was the global conflict that became known as World War II. However, given our sophisticated and deadly technological age, large-scale and protracted warfare, particularly on the scale of a global conflict, is utterly irrational, and yet, that is the direction in which much of the world seems to be headed in an unmistakable and disturbing hurry.